This, quite honestly, is nothing new. If you've been watching the channel for any length of time now, you know full well that a number of Tories, shall we say, are preparing for life after Sunak. Some, of course, in particular, are already trying to build up their profiles for an attempted leadership run. Many of them right now desperately trying to fight for their life in the hope that they survive this incoming Tory wipeout so that they can take part in the Tory leadership contest to come. Of course, Penny Mordaunt, someone whose seat very, very much in play, a potential leadership hopeful. If she loses, she's not going to be able to take part. Maybe she'll be able to take part from the sidelines, of course, but she won't be able to, join in. James Cleverly, someone else recently been accused of running a shadow leadership campaign. I was out on the Good Morning Walk this morning. He is helping his fellow Tories, but he just happens to be going and campaigning in Tory areas and shall we say, people with Tory MPs who happen to have a very large voting bloc in the Tory parliamentary leadership election, should one happen. Or should we say, when that happens. But he's totally helping out his fellow MPs. Not the only one, of course, who's been accused of this. Tom Tugendhat as well, also accused very recently, even confronted on Sky News, of having a shadow campaign of trying to run for a future Tory leadership election. But make no mistake, this happening right now does not help the Tory general election campaign. If anything, it makes it all that much more worse. So remember, at the moment, in chaos Tory theory, we've got number 10 trying to deal with a rogue Sunak and all the chaos that is bringing. We've got grassroots Tories not showing up to campaign and even help their local MP get elected, which is going to have a very, very big impact on turnout and how people vote in those areas as well. But now you've also got on this side some Tory MPs deciding, well, I'm not going to sit and wait to launch my leadership campaign. I'm going to secretly start running it now to be ready for when the firing pistol gets started, so I get a head start. Because, as we all know, Liz Truss showed at her, shall we say, leadership contest that if you get a head start, if you get that head start and you can get ahead of everyone else, you can do pretty well. So, bizarrely, people actually learning from Liz Truss. I know that's as strange as it would be, because what could you learn from Liz Truss? Well, apparently, how to run for the Tory leadership contest. That's one thing they're learning. But before we go more into this as well, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below as well. And of course, you can click the like and share button as well. That always helps out the channel. So let's go cracking on into this then. So this comes from The Guardian with the title of Tory Leadership Hopefuls. God, this is going to be so fun if this breaks out into the open. Hopefully it does. Tory leadership hopefuls already lobbying to replace Sunak. So, Conservative leadership hopefuls are now already lobbying for support to take over from Rishi Sunak amid now the widespread fears that the party is heading for a disastrous defeat on the 4th of July, The Guardian has learned. With 3 weeks to go before the general election, again, 3 weeks to go, seems a long time, but bear in mind, at this point, we are halfway through this campaign. Halfway through. I know, seems like it's been going on for ages, but it's only been 3 weeks, and we got 3 more of these to go. But anyway, back to it. So with 3 weeks to go before the general election, candidates and advisors have now begun lining up behind their preferred contenders, sources have said, with some Tory campaigners complaining that they were being inundated with messages from potential leaders. This manoeuvring now comes as one poll put the Conservatives behind Reform UK for the first time on 18%, a position that would lead to a historic wipeout for the Tories at next month's election. The Reform leader, Nigel Farage, claimed on Friday that polls showed he had now an effect on the leader of the opposition, although that job would likely fall to one of a dozen senior Conservatives after the election. And the question is, which one is it going to be? So we've talked about who the potential frontrunners are, but you know, early favourites for leader include Priti Patel, Suella Braverman, Robert Jenrick, Kimi Badenoch, Penny Mordaunt, and Grant Shapps. However, some of those, as they point out, are trying to retain their seat. Penny Mordaunt, in particular, is going to be one who can try and save. Robert Jenrick doesn't look like he's going to survive either. Grant Shapps also potentially in play as well. Priti Patel likely to survive. Suella Braverman also likely to survive, unfortunately. Even Kemi Badenoch. But we've been over this before. Kemi Badenoch, very popular with the non-parliamentary Conservative Party. She would do quite well in a leadership contest, but would she be able to handle the pressure of being the the actual leader of the opposition? There's been a lot of instances where numbers of Conservative MPs have brought up the fact they do not think that she is suitable, because there's been a number of instances where she's lost her temper, even with the Speaker of the House at some points. So she doesn't, should we say, have the biggest fans in the parliamentary party, but then again, that might not be a problem, because how many of those people are going to be left? Anyway, back to this. One Tory advisor said that there is now quite a bit of manoeuvring going on already. Members of the cabinet are now texting candidates regularly just to, quote, check in, while others are already lining up their leadership teams. It can be quite annoying. Sometimes you would just wish they would focus more on the general election campaign. Why are you going to do that? If you know there is going to be a loss, you know Rishi Sunak's going to get out of there as soon as possible, might as well start preparing for this already. Liz Truss showed in her leadership campaign where she won, if you lay the groundwork now, if you prepare now, you can get a very, very big advantage when it actually comes to that leadership campaign. Being out ahead and in front will count for a lot. So these Tory civil wars to come, they're already kicking off, already happening behind the scenes right now. It's just a question of when these are going to break into the open. And oh boy, I can't wait. I cannot wait. I've been teasing you for the longest time about how delicious these are going to be. But trust me, we are going to eat well after the general election. Anyway, another senior party member said that there is now a sense that the Labour victory is inevitable. We went into the campaign hoping for a hung parliament, but now the central assumption is we are trying to minimise their majority. And even that doesn't seem to be going well. The focus of the possible leadership election after the 4th of July comes against the backdrop of just another tough week for Sunak. Having been the launch week for the Tory manifesto, but was soon having to deny accusations that he was out of touch following the broadcast of his full interview with ITV, where he listed having Sky TV as something he went without out as a child. Honestly, this is going to be such a disaster. So where are we? So yeah, Tory party insiders said the Prime Minister's authority already had begun to lurch away. Already, his authority went a long time ago. I've been saying this for a while. He's had no authority. With now contenders now attempting to replace and jostling for position. One advisor said that several candidates had receiving regular messages from Shap just checking in the campaigns in a move that they thought indicated his desire to try and shore up his support within the parliamentary party. An ally of Shap's insisted that he was just merely making sure that candidates were on message with regard to defence policy. Oh yes, totally sure. Just checking, guys. Are you on message with like Tory defence policy? I'm just checking in. Just like Tom Tugendhat, totally helping his, Southern MP friends, just totally helping them campaign, right? Nothing dodgy going on behind the backs at all. Anyway, several allies of Braverman also said that they were now thinking of moving their support away from the Home Secretary, either to a former Home Office colleague, Robert Jenrick, or another unnamed candidate, saying that she is a complete busted flush. We are looking elsewhere, one said. So, oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting that Braverman is losing support. That's very interesting if Braverman is losing support there. A Tory also said that they were now supporting Mordaunt, had been singing her praises to colleagues. But the person told The Guardian, bad knock, shall we say, is too soon. Braverman, an empty desk, would be more useful. Cleverly, a man with the completely wrong name, although he'd get some support. Jerrick, his problem, he keeps going on about immigration, hoping we'll all forget that he was the immigration minister. Shapps, he'll be a runner if he survives. My hunch is that Penny will emerge ahead of the pack, but it is a treacherous time to forecast because even questions about her seat are coming into play as well. If she doesn't win, bear in mind someone who we want to see go as well, because she is the sort of the more moderate candidate within the Tory party. Obviously, the leader of the One Nation grouping of MPs as well. If she goes, that it will make things very, very interesting as well. So, back to this. Many of those with an interest in the leadership have admitted that much will now depend who keeps their seats. Though Shapps and Mordaunt, two of the leading centrist candidates, are involved in very close fights to retain their seats. Many others from the part of the party do have larger majorities. They could become the most powerful bloc after the election. And that's true. There is going to be a huge fight in the Tory party, not only just in the parliamentary party, but in the non-parliamentary party as well. Because when these civil wars break out, which they will, it is going to affect both the Westminster party and the non-parliamentary party as well. And it's all going to play out amongst the pages of Conservative Home. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. Anyway, he said, I think you'll find the Conservatives will now gradually shift more to the centre, said one well-known candidate. It won't be completely the case. Badenoch and Braverman may still be around, and many people who left will be the old centrist blue wall. Meanwhile, Starmer said that he has plans to go further into bolstering Britain's public services. He said out of the party's manifesto this week, he called Labour's election pledges just merely a first step. Talking about that. No. Nothing else more about the Tory MPs. But again, very, very interesting, though, the fact that you've got, I think, someone coming out there saying they're abandoning Braverman. That's the first that we've heard that. So maybe her election chances aren't as good as people think then. If people are abandoning her, and that's the first time we've seen that happen. But we'll have to wait and see how these civil wars shake out. But oh boy, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And imagine this. All this is going on behind the scenes while they are trying to fight a general election campaign. This is absolutely having an effect on trying to fight a general election campaign. Absolutely. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. But of course, until those Tory civil wars do come, please do hit the subscribe so that you can get the best blue on blue action. And of course, as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel. Like I say, please do click the like and share button on your way out. Links down below, etc., etc. You know the drill by now. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.